This is breaking news from RTV6, working for you.
Breaking news to begin this midday. Indiana's Attorney General is losing his law license, but for less time than was recommended by a state disciplinary panel and a hearing officer. Today, the Indiana Supreme Court suspended Curtis Hill from practicing law in the state for 30 days. The court ruled that Hill violated the state's rules for professional conduct. It all stems from allegations that Hill sexually assaulted a state lawmaker and 3 female legislative aides at a downtown Indianapolis bar. The women say Hill inappropriately touched them at a party that followed the end of the legislative session in 2018. Hill has denied those allegations. The suspension takes effect next Monday and is half the length of the 60-day suspension that was recommended by a former state Supreme Court justice who oversaw Hill's disciplinary hearing last fall. Now, a key part of today's ruling is that if Hill no longer has disciplinary issues, his law license will automatically be reinstated after the 30-day suspension. That also means that he will be reinstated just before next month's state Republican Party convention, where they'll decide whether Hill will again be the party's nominee for the Attorney General. Hill is running for re-election, but he does face 2 Republican challengers. We have much more on this story right now at the IndyChannel.com, and we'll have more coverage tonight on the news at 5 and 6 o'clock. It is time now to get a check of our forecast. It is Monday, midday, and Todd, it was a cold weekend, a cold start to the day. Any good news going forward?
Going forward, as we look a couple days ahead, Lauren, there's much better news. But going forward through the rest of today, unfortunately, there's not much warming that's going to be taking place. We've been locked in with the clouds this morning. Temperatures right now sit in the 40s and 50s across the area. 51 in Terre Haute, 47 in Indy right now. Only 41 degrees in Peru. Keep in mind, our normal low temperature for this time of year is 51 degrees. So we're not even above that yet here at the noon hour on May 11th. Here's a live look from Ims Back towards downtown Indianapolis. You can see the clouds in place. And it's going to be a mostly cloudy afternoon for us with maybe a few peaks of sunshine here or there, and even picking up a few sprinkles streaming through the northern portion of central Indiana. If you do see one of these sprinkles, obviously it's going to be very, very light, not going to cause much of any issues. And we're going forward in this forecast. We'll start to warm things up gradually. Today, though, is not one of those days where there's much warming taking place. About 52 is all we can do for your high temperature later on this afternoon. Then overnight tonight, a frost advisory goes into place across parts of central Indiana. We'll talk about this and when that warm up does arrive, Lauren, coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you. Well, today is the day that more businesses in the state of Indiana are allowed to open for the first time since the stay-at-home order was relaxed by Governor Holcomb. Restaurant dining rooms are among those allowed to reopen in most counties. However, they do have safety precautions that need to be in place. Sangiovese and Fisher's was among the restaurants that was closed completely after the stay-at-home order was issued. They're reopening today, but only at half capacity under the rules issued by the governor's office. Also, you'll notice the tables will be seated at least 6 feet apart, and staff members will wear masks and gloves. Owner Chris Evans says the community has been really supportive throughout this crisis.
We've kept communication with all our guests. Regulars have been texting me continuously, when are you ready? We've got reservations for tomorrow, which is already looking a lot better than I was expecting. So we're really excited about that.
Evans says they will accept dine-in customers only if they have a reservation for now. However, Sangiovese will offer carry-out options to other customers. Well, more businesses are being allowed to reopen today as stage 2 of Indiana's roadmap to rebound from the pandemic continues. And so here's more of what it's going to look like. Hair salons and barbershops can open. However, social distancing rules will still be enforced, and they can be by appointment only. There also may be some restrictions on some services at those salons and barbershops. Also, tattoo parlors, they're allowed to reopen today. And the BMV is opening 128 of its branches by appointment only. And the Bureau is still asking if you can conduct business online if possible. This does not include Marion, Monroe, and Cass counties, however, where the stay-at-home orders remain in effect. The state is slowly opening for business, even though the coronavirus cases and deaths continue to rise. Here's a look at the latest numbers from the state health department. The number of confirmed deaths plus the number of probable deaths from COVID-19 is now over 1,500. 32 new deaths were reported over the past 24 hours. The state also has more than 24,000 positive tests overall. We'll have more on those numbers during the governor's daily press briefing. You can watch that at 2:30 this afternoon. It's right here on RTV6. Well, some of the country's top coronavirus experts are in quarantine after being exposed to a staffer who tested positive for the virus. But Vice President Mike Pence is not one of them, even though his press secretary now has COVID-19. ABC's Alex Brochet tells us the spread inside the West Wing is happening as the White House pushes for more businesses to reopen.
The White House ramping up social distancing measures. You'll be seeing more aides and Secret Service agents wearing masks and socially distancing at least 6 feet apart. The changes come now that at least 2 people in the West Wing have tested positive for the coronavirus, including Vice President Pence's press secretary. The Vice President's office saying he's tested negative every single day. Pence is back at the White House today, but says he has no plans to self-quarantine for 14 days, as the White House's own guidelines call for. That's despite his aide, who he's worked closely with, testing positive. The development's raising questions. The White House is one of the most secure compounds in the world, but the virus has managed to infiltrate it. The nation's top coronavirus task force members now forced to quarantine after coming into contact with an infected White House staffer. CDC Director Robert Redfield and FDA Commissioner Stephen Hahn will quarantine for 14 days. Dr. Anthony Fauci will do what he calls a modified quarantine, working from home but still possibly traveling for meetings. All 3 were expected to testify before the Senate Health Committee in person tomorrow. Committee Chairman Senator Lamar Alexander also is in self-quarantine after one of his staffers tested positive, so that hearing is now happening over video conference. Washington scrambling to tamp down this outbreak as many parts of the country struggle to maintain the White House's guidelines as they reopen. This was a scene at a coffee shop in Denver on Mother's Day. And this was a United flight from Newark to San Francisco, full of first responders. A doctor aboard tweeting he guesses the airline is relaxing their social distancing policy these days. Every seat full on this 737. United Airlines says there were 22 open seats on that plane. Most flights are less than 50% full. And while it is limiting advanced seat selection, it cannot guarantee that all customers will be seated next to an unoccupied seat. Alex Brochet, ABC News, Washington.
Well, the Colts in the NFL are mourning the loss of a man considered one of the top defensive line coaches of his era. John Teerlinck spent 24 seasons as a coach in the NFL, the last 11 right here in Indianapolis with the Colts. He won 3 Super Bowl rings, 2 with the Broncos, and his last one with the Colts after the 2006 season. 7 of his linemen finished their careers with more than 100 career sacks, including Colts legends Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. Mathis called him the greatest pass rush coach of all time. Colts owner Jim Irsay announced Teerlinck's death on Twitter last night. He was 69 years old. Well, if you're in need of money due to the pandemic, scammers, they're looking for you. Coming up, some tips on how to avoid the latest big pyramid scheme. As the saying goes, it takes a village. Coming up, we'll show you how a chain of apartments is trying to live up to those words by passing out hope behind the pandemic. Todd.
And Lauren, we're dealing with chilly temperatures here across much of the Midwest, but you can see there is a warm up in the western half of the country. Eventually, that warmer air starts to make its way into our area. I'll have the timeline of when you can expect it coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast. You're watching the news at noon right here on RTV6.
ABC's General Hospital.
Pyramid schemes have been around for decades, right? But with people in need of money during this ongoing pandemic, more of them seem to be popping up online. Tim Maniscalco with the Better Business Bureau has some information on one scam that promises a big blessing but delivers something else.
And previously about these pyramid schemes on social media. This one's on Facebook. It's called Blessing Loom. And basically, it's the same thing that a lot of these pyramid schemes are. You're going to get a social media message, and it's going to say, hey, for a $100 investment, you can just reap, incredible returns, 10 times even more the money that you invested originally. So you're going to pay your $100, and then you've got to recruit some other people to get in the Blessing Loom. Well, as you know, these pyramid schemes, they never work. They fall apart. They're really something that you should not engage in at all. So just be very, very careful if you get a social media message, particularly on Facebook, to join this Blessing Loom and invest $100. It's not going to work for you. just be very, very careful. Also check your sources. Make certain that, you don't accept a Facebook message or do something from someone that you're not a friend with or somebody that you don't know on Facebook. So we just want to put out the warning. Just be very careful for this particular pyramid scheme. It's called Blessing Loom.
Tim, thank you. We have more tips on how to avoid pyramid schemes and other scams right now at theindychannel.com/money. Well, COVID-19 has been a major problem for older Americans, but now doctors are wondering why another illness may be connected to the coronavirus is now attacking kids. Next, how one state is tackling this medical mystery. And let's take a live look outside right now from our Weather Now camera. Downtown, view to the north, some clouds out there, and it's a chillier start to our work week. We'll check in with Todd and get a full forecast and see when things are going to warm up. That's coming up just after the break. Stick around.
It's been living all along.
Well, COVID-19 seems to have the deadliest impact on older people across the country. But now in New York, dozens of children have contracted a mysterious illness. Doctors believe it could be linked to the coronavirus. Scripps reporter Jen Bisserum has more.
Are becoming the latest casualty in the coronavirus pandemic in New York.
We've seen 3 cases at PM Pediatrics with this syndrome, have been very ill appearing, high fevers for several days, GI symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, belly pain, and rash or swelling.
It's called pediatric multi-system inflammatory syndrome, and it appears to be linked to COVID-19. Dr. Cheryl Cohen helps run clinical operations at PM Pediatrics, which has facilities across the tri-state.
They do test positive for COVID. They generally have a very mild course and then several days later have these more extreme symptoms.
The Care Center for Kids started testing children for COVID-19 in late March and already started testing them for the antibody. So far, they tested over 3,000 kids in New York. 19% of the nasal swabs came back positive for COVID-19, and about 20% of the antibody tests were also positive.
I think we're seeing more kids now than we were at the beginning.
Mayor Bill de Blasio Sunday saying all pediatricians in the city are now required to do antibody testing for kids with symptoms.
We're sending a health alert to the parents of more than 1 million public school kids to put them on alert.
At his daily update Sunday, Governor Andrew Cuomo said 85 kids in New York have been reported sick with the syndrome, including dozens in the New York City area, most of them toddlers and elementary school aged. And sadly, 3 deaths have been confirmed to be related to the syndrome. 2 more are under investigation.
It's possible that these cases were coming in and were not diagnosed as related to COVID because they don't appear as COVID.
It's definitely very scary and sad. What we are seeing, though, is still many, many children who are doing very well.
That was Jen Bisserum with that report from Long Island, New York. Health officials say if your children exhibit any of these symptoms, you should call their doctor right away. This will be the site above Indianapolis tomorrow. The Blue Angels are planning a flyover to honor healthcare workers, first responders, and other essential workers serving on the front lines during the COVID-19 pandemic. Times and routes will be released later today. You can find those on the IndyChannel.com and also at the RTV6 app just as soon as we get them. And Todd, how is the weather looking like for that flyover?
It'll be a little cool, but they should be able to fly out there as we'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies, but not those low cloud decks out there that a lot of times prevent people from flying, whether it's the Blue Angels or just general aviation. So that's good news going forward for tomorrow. Today, the trouble spot is just going to be the temperature department. Once again, we are well below normal. That's the way it stays throughout the entire day. As you look at your headlines, not only is it cool, it's breezy, but we do have warmth building in by the end of the week. But with the warmth also comes some rain, so that's a trade-off that we are going to have to make going forward. But I think after this streak of chilly weather, that's a trade that most people will take when you see your 7-day in just a minute. That was the view from downtown off to the east, and you can see the clouds that were in place. And look at these temperatures. Not good. 43 in Tipton, 48 in Bloomington, 51 in Sullivan. 51 is our average low for this time of year, so some areas probably won't even get to that for highs today. And our average high is 71 degrees. So obviously going to be 20 to 25 degrees colder than that throughout the day today in the temperature department. There's a few spotty showers sneaking through the northern portion here of central Indiana. If you do see one of these, they'll all be very, very light. That is the good news. Frankfort to Kokomo over towards Anderson. A few of those spotty showers are currently making their way through the area. And we just have this persistent northwesterly wind. And you can see the rotation here with the clouds coming around the area of low pressure that went through yesterday. That's now up near Toronto. Until that pulls away further, we're not really going to break the clouds. I think there'll be some peaks of sunshine here this afternoon, but overall a mostly cloudy sky. Highs today will be in the low 50s and then cooling off back down into the 40s as we get into the evening hours. Overnight tonight, going down into the 30s once again for overnight lows. A frost advisory is in place for some counties here across the area, mainly north and east of Indianapolis. Does not currently include Indianapolis as of right now, but anywhere you go, it's going to be chilly. So it's one of those nights where it's going to be a close call whether you need to protect the plants or not. But if you want to be safe, go ahead and cover those up or bring them in here tonight into tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, we're up to 60 degrees, so a little bit warmer for your high, a little more in the way of sunshine tomorrow as well. But it's really not till the end of the week, Thursday onward, that we bring in the mild conditions and we actually go above normal with highs that will be in the mid-70s Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and all the way into Sunday as well. So it's a nice stretch of mild temperatures, but you do notice each and every day there will be the chance of showers and thunderstorms. No day looks to be a complete washout. That's the good news, and that's why I said I think most of us will take the trade-off for the opportunity at least to get outside with the mild temperatures. Yes, we'll have to contend, Lauren, with some showers and thunderstorms at some point, but we'll be able to time those out for you. If I had to pick a day that looks to be the wettest at this point, that's probably going to be during the day on Friday.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Well, an apartment complex chain is making life a little bit easier for its tenants, and at the same time, they're helping their hometown rebound from this ongoing pandemic. Our Troy Washington explains how it could be a big boost to business in Hamilton County.
We're all entrenched in Fishers and in the Southport Emerson area. We're a part of this community, and we want to be able to give back and support those local businesses.
Sue Anthony is the vice president of Regency Windsor. Through their Heart Initiative, each property is rewarding 100 tenants with gift cards to local restaurants in their neighborhood.
We came up with the initiative. Actually, the owners came up with the idea and let us just run with it. We have 4 communities in the Indianapolis area. Sun Bluff, Sun Lake, the Woods of Britain, and the Lakes of Windsor. We were each given the task to pick local, small, family-owned businesses, restaurants that we have some type of contact with.
The goal is to not only reward the tenants for paying on time during the pandemic, but to also pour into those restaurants surrounding the properties who desperately need the help right now.
El Mason, whiskey business, the Wolfie's chain, which is a local family restaurant, Psalms, Chatham Tap, which is right across the street from Sunblest, which is one of our locations. Also, 3 of our communities are in Fishers. We're in different areas of Fishers, so our residents frequent different places.
Winners will receive a $50 gift card to the restaurant of their choice to enjoy dinner while empowering their community in the process. Working for you in Fishers, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Troy, thank you. We'll take a live look outside right now, overlooking downtown. We'll get one more check of our forecast on this Monday and see what you can expect the rest of the afternoon, the evening, and the week ahead with Todd. It's coming up on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Dial.com or call the number on your screen.
All right, welcome back to the news at noon. We are dealing with mostly cloudy skies here throughout the day. Breezy conditions as well. 60 degrees on Tuesday, so some improvement tomorrow temperature-wise and with a little more in the way of sunshine. 63 on Wednesday. And then finally, the warmth builds in for the end of the week as it becomes more spring-like. We get the temperatures for highs and lows back closer to normal. With the warmth, though, Lauren, will come some scattered showers and thunderstorms each day, but no day looks to be a washout.
All right, Todd, we'll take the warm-up. Rob, thank you. And thank you for joining us and making RTV6 your choice for news. Come back and join us for the news at 5. Have a great Monday.